Over the past 10 years, working with a lot of clients that are entrepreneurs and understanding why they feel tired all the time, these are the reasons why I find this out when I'm working with entrepreneurs. And one of the big reasons of why you feel tired all the time has a lot to do with different deficiencies that are going on throughout your body. And one of the big ones that I find that creeps up all the time when I'm testing for different micronutrient testing and seeing what's going on here is vitamin B12. Now, vitamin B12 is so critical for not only to help vitalize and give you energy throughout your cells, but it's also very important for actually creating the myelin sheath around your nerves. And so that can also contribute to different focus issues that maybe might be an issue with you as an entrepreneur. But some other big deficiencies that also do tend to creep up is iron deficiency. Now, why this is so important is because iron is so critical for carrying oxygen throughout the body, especially to the brain, and also carrying nutrients throughout the body. And so when you're deficient in iron, you're going to feel very tired. And this tends to creep up quite a bit with a lot of my entrepreneur patients that I work with. Some other really big ones is also magnesium. Magnesium is such a vital electrolyte that is so necessary. And we see this more and more in this day and age where we see magnesium to being a deficiency and does contribute to feeling fatigued, because magnesium is such an important building block for so many different processes and chemical reactions throughout our body chemistry that when we're deficient in it, we're not going to function very well. We're also going to feel very tired. And another big one is vitamin D. So vitamin D is something that I would say 50% or more of people in the population tends to be deficient and don't have adequate of vitamin D levels. And especially if you live like somewhere where I live in the Northwest, where I tend to also run in low vitamin D levels. So I tend to always have to usually supplement that for myself and a lot of my other entrepreneur patients that I work with. Now, a lot of these nutritional deficiencies can be resolved because there's several other ones. There's things such as like zinc, vitamin B6, vitamin C, so many different nutrient deficiencies that happen, but this can all be resolved if you focus a lot on your nutrition. And this is something I see as a big problem with entrepreneurs, myself included, because as we know, being an entrepreneur, it's challenging, and it's challenging to keep up with the foods that you need to be consuming on a regular basis. And probably the biggest one that I see as a problem with a lot of entrepreneurs is not getting enough protein throughout the day. And sometimes skipping breakfast and thinking that's an okay idea by thinking that like, oh, I'm just doing intermittent fasting. But honestly, you probably just forgot to take breakfast and you think, okay, I could just skip breakfast, and then you just binge eat at night, and then you probably don't eat the best foods. And so you have this inconsistency of giving your body the right nutrients that it does need, such as like protein, but also keeping your blood sugar stable. So when you're eating all sporadically like that, you're going to have blood sugar going up and down, and therefore your focus and your energy and is going to be all over the place. And this is probably why you feel tired all the time. Now, another big one that I always have to catch myself to making sure that this is vital for my energy, and that is getting a good night's rest every single night, getting at least 7 to 8 hours of sleep each night. I know when my energy is low is usually because I didn't get enough sleep the night before. And so if you are not doing this and you're struggling falling asleep or staying asleep, this is something you should definitely work on. And this is probably a big reason also why you feel tired all the time. Another hidden reason of feeling tired is probably the medications that you're actually taking, because there's lots of medications that do have really bad side effects. And one of them is feeling fatigued and even mentally fatigued. So you should probably check with your doctor to make sure that none of these medications are contributing to your low energy situation. Another really big one that happens a lot with entrepreneurs is we tend to work many hours. And so we feel like, oh, we're being really busy and we're being really productive, but are we really getting a lot of work done? And the big issue is we do burn ourselves out. And it's probably because we're just not very good with managing our time. So you have to ask yourself, how good is my time management skills? Am I being more productive, or am I just filling the gaps with unnecessary stuff? And so this is something you should definitely look into. And it's something I assess like every week, every month. I'm always looking at my schedule to see, okay, how can I be more efficient and productive so I don't have to be exhausting myself and burning myself out of filling the gaps with unnecessary things that actually drain my energy versus giving me energy. So it's something you should definitely ask yourself and start working on this on a regular basis and assessing this all the time. Along those same lines, with being really bad at managing our time, something that also does happen is we deal with a lot of stress. It's the name of the game of being an entrepreneur. Dealing with stress when things are low or when things are stagnant or when we have so much business we are so stressed out we don't know what to do. But at the same time is trying to deal with the work-life balance, trying to appease our spouse or significant other or kids, along with also trying to appease our work. And so we just tend to ignore it. We tend to just push it off. But people don't realize when you don't address the stress, especially more the internal and external stressors that you have in your life, it does cause fatigue. It does cause that low energy, and it's only going to get worse if you do not address it. Another really big one has to do with going back to the foods that we eat, but more about the digestive system. And so if you are experiencing gassing, bloating, heartburn, any kind of indigestion, there's chances are that this could be contributing to your fatigue situation. And the reason being is because your body is not breaking down the foods very accurately. And so it makes it very difficult to not only feed the body, but also feed the brain. And so you're going to have some side effects of not only feeling tired, but also things such as like brain fog, as well as not having focus throughout the day. So this is something that you should be addressing to making sure that you have an optimal gut working properly for you. Because another important thing about the gut is that 90 to 95% of a lot of our neurotransmitters are made in the gut. Now, what are neurotransmitters? Neurotransmitters are things that help us to be more motivated, driven, focused, as well as energy. And so if your neurotransmitters are not being made at an adequate level, then you're going to see some side effects of feeling tired all the time. Another thing that could contribute to this low energy that you're experiencing is that you could have some food sensitivities. And food sensitivities, some of the side effects do come along with having fatigue. And so if there are certain foods that you are eating that are giving you that low energy, you might want to consider eliminating it from your diet altogether. Now, a thing that I always tell people, a gold standard to really understand if it is truly food, is make a list of foods that you think are the culprit to your situation. So some big ones is obviously to start with wheat, gluten, dairy, nuts, eggs. And so you could just start right there and eliminate that for about a month or 6 weeks, and then reintroduce one food group at a time and see if that is contributing to your fatigue situation. If it is, then you should probably consider removing it altogether. Now, taking this to a different angle, let's look at more about what's happening maybe hormonally that can be contributing to your fatigue. And so something I see all the time with my entrepreneur patients is that they have an issue with their cortisol levels. And this is because they reach this state of complete burnout. It's what is called adrenal insufficiency syndrome. It's where the adrenals are not producing enough cortisol. Now, cortisol is what gets us up in the morning. It's what gives us energy throughout the day. And when this is probably low, which I just see all the time when I'm testing for this, there's an issue, and this can contribute probably your main reason of why you're feeling tired. And so supporting the adrenals can definitely fix the situation. Now, another hormone that we also cannot overlook is looking at the thyroid. Now, you might be like, oh, I've already tested, my thyroid. Possibly. You probably have not done a full workup. Most doctors don't look at a full workup when it comes to your thyroid. They're just testing for TSH, which stands for thyroid stimulating hormone. And that's just a hormone that's released in the brain. But the thyroid itself has hormones like free T3, free T4 that the thyroid actually releases that can be deficient, or it could be other peripheral organs that release thyroid hormones, such as the liver helps actually convert thyroid hormones. Also, the heart does. There's other interstitial tissues that do. And so if these organs are not working optimally, it's going to show up with side effects of feeling tired. And you probably thought it was all good, but there's probably other things that could be contributing to these thyroid imbalances. Another one that you should also consider is also looking at anti-TPO levels. Anti-TPO levels can elevate before you even see an issue with your TSH levels. And so if that is an issue, you want to catch that on early, so that way that can be addressed and it can be contributing to your fatigue situation. Now, another really big one, which I did address before, is having to do with your blood sugar levels. Now, this happens over time because, especially here in America, there's sugar in everything. And because there's sugar in everything, we tend to become insulin resistant over time. And if we become insulin resistant, we're going to see our blood sugar levels spike and dip and be all over the place, which is going to contribute to our fatigue situation where our energy is not going to be very consistent. It's going to dip and crash and then maybe go up if we get, a nice good blood sugar spike because there's some insulin resistance going on here. And so it should be addressed. So what can you do to get your energy back on track as an entrepreneur? You should watch this video next where I talk about my secrets of never feeling tired as an entrepreneur. So watch this video next.